Distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's my great honor to welcome you in Baku for 7th StrategEast State and IT Eurasian Forum with the title Shaping the World with IT. Over the 2 days, we will hear from the leaders and visionists representing the governments, industry, and academia. We will talk about the potential and the future of which AI brings to us. If you check the agenda, you will see that this event is not just about technology. It's also about collaboration, discussion, and idea sharing. We will talk and we will discuss how AI will change the economy, will change the societies, what good things it could bring, and what challenges it could also leave us with. Now, to officially open the forum, I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Anatoly Motkin, President of StrategEast, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Motkin, please.
Hello, my name is Anatoly Motkin. I'm President of StrategEast, and I'm happy to see all of you here today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us here for our 7th edition of State and IT Eurasian Forum. And since its foundation in 2017, StrategEast has been focused on developing a knowledge-driven economy in countries of Eurasia. This effort is grounded in 5 educational pillars. So, as the knowledge-driven economy is about education, the first, we educate people, providing them with the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed in modern digital economy. Second, we educate companies, not only startups. We're ensuring that they understand how to adapt and thrive in this new landscape. Third, we educate money, assisting to old money to become smart money and better suited to the demands of a rapidly evolving economy. In education, we educate governments, as odd as it could sound, but we assist to the governments how to transform their legislation to be more suitable to the needs of the global IT industry and to have legislation which is more transparent and accountable. And finally, we educate markets. Our aim is to show people in the United States, Europe, and most recently in the Gulf, that Eurasia is not just a recipient of digital services, but also serves as a hub of cutting-edge digital expertise. The knowledge-driven economy is not only a path to economic prosperity, but it also helps to create a society with equal opportunities for all. The knowledge-driven economy brings with it deeply embedded values: transparency, again, accountability, and rule of law. The knowledge-driven economy helps to interconnect Eurasia from within, while also integrating it into the global supply chain. And the regional collaboration is an important factor. We always try to convince, and part of our public advocacy is to promote the region as a whole. Sometimes we call it Central Eurasia, combination of Central Asia and Caucasus. Every year, we hold our forum in one of Eurasia's IT capitals. We have hosted it in Kiev, in Tbilisi, in Bishkek, Samarkand, Almaty. Last year it was held in Kishinev, and today we're holding it in the beautiful city of Baku. This year, the StrategEast State and IT Eurasian Forum is being held in Azerbaijan, emphasizing the country's role as a key player in advancing the digital economy across the region. We believe that the knowledge is a new energy, and we're deeply convinced that the IT industry is to become the new fuel for Azerbaijan's rapidly growing economy. I want to thank our partners, Ministry of Digital Development and Transport of Republic of Azerbaijan, Innovations and Digital Development Agency, European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, Google, EPAM, Ernst & Young, and Pasha Holding, whose support allowed this forum to take place as planned. This year, the lead topic of our forum is shaping the world with AI. We're now in one of Baku's most iconic landmarks that defines its skyline, the Flame Towers. They represent the present of this city and this country. But today, thanks to AI, we have the chance to take a glimpse into the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Motkin, for the remarks and the AI version of my city. Some stuff is not exactly correct, but in general, it's very good. Now I'm honored to invite my friend and at the same time Chief Commercial Officer of Innovations and Digital Development Agency, Salar Imamaliyev.
Hello, everybody. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, partners, friends, we welcome you in Baku. Anatoly, I recollect a year ago when you and I sat in this one cafeteria or restaurant, you and I had this long look over all the destinations that hosted your events, and you and I asked the same question, how are we going to challenge it? There was one major ingredient missing there, Baku. And there we go. Less than a year after, we're meeting here with great honor. It is my pleasure. I want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude to our chairman, Mr. Farid Osmanov, who's done a lot to make sure that this event does happen, along with a few other partners of ours in the ministry, along with the leadership team, and of course, Pasha Holding that made it all happen, along with many other partners and respected parties as well. Today we bring together an extraordinary community from Google, EPAM, Exola, EBRD, Ernst & Young, and Pasha Holding, of course, to visionary entrepreneurs, investors, researchers, all united by a shared purpose to try and understand how we take this AI thing further. And I guess, given all the challenges that we have seen so far, it's going to be quite a challenge for the next 5 to 10 years. But then during this forum, I guess you'll get to meet the firms that have already made their choices about where to grow next. And I'm proud to say that many of them chosen Azerbaijan. Companies like EPAM Systems and Solar and many others have recognized Baku as their next hub of development. For them, it's a place for research, R&D, education, and talent development, and we do appreciate that. That's for them a place to build something meaningful and lasting, and they have made their choice. From the government side, we're going to do our absolutely utmost to make sure that their presence here is supported with the right level of focus from all governmental institutes, as well as the support that they are out to see from the private sector as well. Artificial intelligence is not just a technology threat. We are going to see reshaping economies, industries, government models around the world. McKinsey estimated that the AI could add between 2.4 to 4.4 trillion annually to the global economy, and the numbers are huge. We have to deal with that. Earlier this year, our government approved the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy for 2025-2028, a comprehensive roadmap for building a sustainable AI ecosystem. The strategy focuses on creating enabling infrastructure, developing human capital, and ensuring that AI benefits the economy and society as a whole. And it's not an easy thing to achieve given all the challenges that we're seeing with the CAGR in development terms. We have already conducted international market analysis, aligned elevation methodologies with global standards, our coordinated digital code across public institutions. 4 of those standards have already been adopted and serving our people, our citizens, as we speak. To accelerate this journey, we established the Artificial Intelligence Academy, a key milestone in our national AI strategy. Its mission is to cultivate world-class AI practices into academy, a key milestone on our strategy. So we're going to look at education and research, and the curriculum aligns with heading institutions like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, and many others. But our mission goes further, beyond institutions and into everyday life. It is 98% precise, ensuring user receives accurate, legally sound results rather than speculative outputs. Our MyGov platform, I represent the Innovation and Digital Development Agency. We develop, design, and maintain MyGov platforms, which many of our citizens use daily, is evolving from a service portal into something much more meaningful that is going to use AI in a wider scale. Together with EPAM Systems, we're integrating AI chatbots and content-aware systems that understand citizen intent, provide guidance, and even act proactively, reminding, recommending, and resolving matters in all directions. It is true belief of the entire agency that I represent that this forum provides exactly that platform to take it to the next step. May I again thank you all, our guests, friends, and associates, for choosing Azerbaijan as our next hub of development, for being part of what we do, part of our journey, for your commitment to our joint success, and above all, for your love to our beloved country. Thank you.
Thank you, Salar, for your remarks and highlighting Azerbaijan's vision on innovation and digital transformation. Now I would like to invite Mr. Alkis Drakinos, Director and Regional Head for Caucasus at EBRD.
Dear guests, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a privilege for me to be here today at the StrategEast State and IT Eurasian Forum, a platform that champions innovation and collaboration in our region over the last 7 years. The EBRD, I will say a few things about the bank first and then go into more substance. The EBRD is an international financial institution founded in 1991. It is owned by 77 countries, the EU and the European Investment Bank. We work in 42 countries across 3 continents, and we support those countries' transition to successful market economies. So that's about the bank. We focus on delivering prosperity. That's what we try to do by enabling a well-run and sustainable private sector and well-governed, efficient public sector in these countries. We do this with our unique business model, combining financing, advice, and policy reform. So far, we have invested 210 billion euro in these 42 countries, over 7,500 projects. In Azerbaijan alone, we have so far invested over 3.6 billion euro, spread over 200 projects, covering key economic sectors such as sustainable infrastructure, including municipal and energy sectors, as well as banking and corporate sectors. We have an office here, and head of office is here, of 16 strong people and a regional team that joins them to deliver these results. Now, our strategic priorities for the period 2026-2030 across all our countries include 3 directions. We want to support their transition to green economies. We want them to advance to stronger economic governance in the public and the private sector. And we want them to strengthen human capital, providing equal opportunity to all. Now, in this mega vision that we have for our 42 countries of operation, we view the development and deployment of digital technology as a strategic enabler to leverage transition impact and achieve these results. It is estimated that in around 10 years, so by 2035, about 70% of all new value created in economy of the world will be based on business models enabled by digital platforms. We realize that today we are not only just talking about technology, we are talking about the future of our region. Artificial intelligence and digital transformation are already changing the way we live, we work, and we connect. These are not distant ideas anymore. They are here shaping the economies and societies of every day. This year's forum theme, shaping the world with AI, could not be more relevant. For our region, AI is both an opportunity as well as a responsibility. It gives us a chance to leap forward in the global economy. So the region here in Caucasus and in Azerbaijan needs to do its role, to play its role in order to get the position it deserves in the world economy. This is where collaboration matters most. Forums like StrategEast provide a unique platform to align visions, share practices, and build partnerships. At the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, we see that our role goes beyond providing financing or technical assistance. We strive to build ecosystems that empower entrepreneurs, strengthen institutions, and connect markets. Locally, our flagship initiative is called Star Ventures Program. Since 2019, we launched this program intended to help early-stage startups with growth potential. What was started as a pilot in 3 countries has now grown to 26 markets, supporting over 350 startups and 36 accelerators. Since the launch of the program in 2022 here in Azerbaijan, more than 10 Azerbaijani startups have benefited from these offerings, gaining access to mentorship, advisory services, and investor networks. In addition, we have supported over 200 ICT-related projects in Azerbaijan, reinforcing our commitment to build a strong digital economy in the region. But our support does not stop here. Alongside financing, we offer technical assistance through programs like the Digital Transformation Support Program and the Cybersecurity Resilience Program, helping our clients become more efficient and cyber secure. For example, we are helping the State Water Resources Agency of Azerbaijan to identify and address digitalization challenges for long-term water security of the country. Another milestone worth highlighting is the StrategEast IT Hub project, officially launched in Baku in 2022. The project was funded by EBRD and was the result of a collaborative effort between StrategEast, the 4th Industrial Revolution Center under the Ministry of Economy, and EBRD. As part of the program, 85 young people from regions such as Ganja, Lankaran, Shrivan, Nachichevan received free IT training, followed by job offers upon successful implementation of the project and successful graduation. The project increased the pool of qualified IT professionals and supported foreign direct investment in Azerbaijan. This achievement shows that we can accomplish many things together, and we can create opportunities that build skills for the future in this society. Our goal is to ensure that artificial intelligence and digitalization serve people and drive long-term growth. So with these words, I complete my opening remarks. I welcome you all here in my part. I wish you have good fun and that you learn some things. I'm here to learn. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drakinos, for your thoughts and continued support, financial and not only, to our region. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our opening remarks, and we now move to keynote session, where we hear from Catherine Connors, co-founder of StoryQuo, futurist and narrative architect, presenting Architecting the Impossible, Building the Imagination Economy. Please, but this way around.
I'll go around.
Yeah.
I have to do a long, awkward walk in front of you to get over to the steps. Hi. What an extraordinary honor to get to talk about architecting the impossible in a city that has arguably already done that. I feel like I'm standing in the middle of an architecture of the impossible, being in the Flame Towers. I'm going to start with a story. And like all good stories, it's going to start with once upon a time. Sometimes the stories start with in another age, in other years, beyond time, before time. But in the West, we often start with once upon a time. Once upon a time, I worked at a company that you might have heard of, the Walt Disney Company, that specializes in playing with the impossible, with getting people to believe in the impossible, with getting people to believe in magic, with getting people to believe in princesses and superheroes and space pirates and fairies, believing that they can walk through worlds and immerse themselves in stories in which the impossible becomes possible and magic is real. When I was at Disney, I worked on a number of projects that I absolutely loved that played with the impossible. I worked on Princess. I worked on a number of things that took me into the wilds of Fantasyland and Frontierland and Tomorrowland. But one of my very, very, very favorite projects was a project called Citizen Kid. This was a content series that we did with Disney Junior, in which we went around North America looking for kids, ordinary kids, who dreamed of doing extraordinary things. Wonderful program, a delight to do, so much fun that we partnered with the government of Colombia to create a Colombian version of this show. In Colombia, it was called Pensando en Grande, Thinking Big. And like the kids in North America, the Colombian kids dedicated themselves to finding landscapes of the impossible to play upon. Many of them, like the American kids, looked for solutions to problems that they saw in the world. But there was one kid who I absolutely love, whose story has stayed with me ever since, who wasn't so much interested in solving a problem as he was with chasing the impossible. This Colombian boy, who lived in a rural community outside of Bogota, wanted to put chickens on the moon. Why did he want to put chickens on the moon? Well, he worried that at some point human beings might have to live on the moon, or Mars, or one of the other planets. He thought, we might have to live somewhere that is not this Earth, and if so, are we still going to be able to have barbecue chicken? He really liked chicken, and he thought, the problem that I would like to solve is not really a problem that we worry about at all, but one that points to an imaginary future in which, if we are living on a moon or another planet, there should be chickens. So he applied himself to this problem of putting chickens on the moon. And what I loved about it was that he was chasing the impossible. Why we might need chickens on the moon is not one of the pressing problems of the world. But for this boy, it was an exercise of the imaginary. He was leaning into his capacity to dream. He imagined that as industrious, creative, innovative human beings, we could absolutely build a technology to get chickens on the moon. And he also believed, as a young boy, that it was within his capacity, within his power, to perhaps come up with the answer to how to put chickens on the moon. We, adults, think that we believe in impossible things. We really put a lot of stock in our powers of innovation. I think everyone here today thinks a lot about innovation. But when we ask ourselves whether we really, really believe in impossible things, I think that we have to ask ourselves, do we really? Do we really believe in the impossible the way a child believes in the impossible? Or do we believe in a landscape of possibility that's controlled and contained and we can imagine exploring the edges of it? Do we actually believe that we can go beyond the boundaries of the possible? Research tells us that we don't. Research also tells us that it starts quite young when we stop believing in the impossible. At Disney, I called this the dream gap. We were very interested in figuring out when do kids, especially girls, stop believing in their powers of pushing impossibility? When do they stop believing in magic? When do they stop believing in their ability to create magic? The dream gap is the gap between what we dream is possible, what we can dream is possible, and what we actually really, truly, when we're our grown-up selves, think is possible. For kids, this happens sometime around adolescence, when they begin to hear the adults in their lives say to them to put away childish things, to be reasonable, to be rational, to not be dreamy, to not indulge in fantasy. And what that does is it encourages us to not just sit in the gap between what we think is possible and what we think is not possible. It puts us in the gap between what we think we are capable of doing. It puts us in the gap of between what we dream that we can actually do, each of us as individuals or as families or communities, and what we actually think we can do, or rather what we think we can't do. This is exactly what the fairy tales warned us about. Alice in Wonderland certainly did. We grow up, we put away childish things, we stop believing that we can fly, we stop believing that we can put chickens on the moon, we stop believing in magic, we stop believing in 6 impossible things before breakfast, as Alice did. Ask yourselves, how many impossible things do I believe? Ask yourself really, really, really honestly, how many impossible things do you believe? Can you name even 1 or 2 or 3? Because a child, if you ask them this question, will rhyme up a whole list, a really long list. They'll probably keep going unless you tell them to stop. There's probably a few billionaires out there that you could ask this of, and they will feel challenged to say the impossible things that they can do, but most ordinary people lose their belief in impossible things, and I think that is a tragedy. We lose our belief in magic, and when we lose our belief in magic, we lose our belief in possibility. And when we lose our belief in our own magic, our own capacity for magic, we lose our faith in our belief in our capacity to create magic, to do extraordinary things, to create into the impossible. So why is this? We grow up. That should seem like it's a fast answer. We grow up, we start leaning into the rational and the reasonable and the measurable and the adult and the grown up, and we know as grown-ups we're supposed to put away childish things. But in a world where we want to create amazing things, where we do create amazing things, where we build flame towers, how is it that we stop believing in magic? One of the culprits is what I call the crisis of paradox. We lose our capacity for wonder. Paradox comes from the ancient Greek words para, against or beyond, and doxa, which means belief or opinion. For the ancient Greeks, belief or opinion was the lowest form of knowledge, the least reliable form of knowledge for reasons that we can all imagine. To be able to live in paradox, to be able to embrace paradox was for the ancient Greeks a really powerful thing, because if you're able to sit comfortably in paradox and explore paradox, that is, explore beyond the things that you think you know, you're able to sit in a place of wonder. You're able to explore the impossible within the context of the possible. You're able to consider things that could be true, even if all the evidence and all the voices around you are telling you that they are not true. We, clever grown-ups that we are, accomplished grown-ups that we are, move outside of this. We get uncomfortable with paradox. We get uncomfortable with wonder. We cling to our opinions and beliefs. We insist upon the dominance of reason. We insist upon keeping things within the realm of the measurable. We disdain curiosity. We close our minds and our hearts. Within this space in which we reject paradox, we have no narratives for horizons of possibility. That is to say, those crazy stories that tell us that you can put chickens on the moon, that impossible things are impossible, impossible things are possible. We reject contradictions. We reject puzzles. We get ourselves comfortably into the space of binaries, either or, this, and we look for solutions instead of possibility. And that's not to say that looking for solutions isn't a good thing to do. We've got lots of problems to solve. But possibility is what takes us to the horizon. Possibility is what gets us into the landscape of surprise and of wonder, where we really do get to exercise our human, all too human capacity for real magic. Instead of that magic, we attach ourselves, cling to, long for architectures of reassurance. Now, an architecture of reassurance is not in itself a bad thing. Architectures of reassurance give us spaces in which we can explore. They can be like a children's playground where we know the child won't get hurt. But they can also be deeply, deeply, deeply constrictive. They can be made up of graphable data, verifiable facts, all good things, narrative certainty. These are good things, but if we worship them, then we limit ourselves. If we limit ourselves to stories that say, if it's not on the spreadsheet, it doesn't count. If it's not in the data, it can't be true. If we tell ourselves that stories always look a certain way, end a certain way, go a certain way, then we lose the capacity for seeing beyond those architectures. If we hang on to our old stories and hang on to them in a way that prevents us from seeing new ones, or better, creating and making new ones, then we get trapped in those stories. This isn't a failure of innovation. We are extraordinarily innovative creatures. We can build our way around anything. I do think this is a failure of imagination. It is the thing that happens when we restrict our ability to see beyond the horizon, to see beyond the structures that we've already made for ourselves. Even if we think about Baku, extraordinary Baku, in order to get from the old city to building these towers of flame, somebody had to believe that the impossible was possible. They had to believe that a city at every step along the way could look like something unimaginable. Who would have thought that there could be a cityscape that looks like flames? These flame towers, I think, are exactly what we need. It's a cityscape of the architecture of the impossible. And what I want to propose to you tonight is that the opportunity in exploring innovation is to explore the opportunity to expand and deepen and widen and blow up, if we have to, architectures of the impossible. Architectures of the impossible require ecosystems of the impossible. It's not just about the machinery that we make and the frames that we set up. It's about how we rewild our sense of what is possible. If you're admiring the art at the background of the slide, this is actually, I go back, a massive, 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 massive mural. You see there's a little man right there, that's the artist. It was commissioned for Epcot Center at Disney World, and it's larger than this room. It's a landscape of what's possible if we expand our sense of wonder and expand our sense of what's possible. That requires doing what I just said, deconstructing our old stories, especially the story that tells us that grown-ups don't believe in magic, especially the stories that tell us that we have to measure and control and contain everything that we do. What are examples of those stories? Especially, what are the examples of those stories that keep us trapped on landscapes that could be much, much more creative and much, much more innovative? One of them you're familiar with. This is from the World Economic Forum, the Industrial Revolution story. We have been telling ourselves the Industrial Revolution story for about 300 years. It's an old story, and we're apparently on the third or fourth cycle of this story. If you listen to the World Economic Forum, which produces extraordinary research and extraordinary scholarship, but it's an old story that's being recycled now. We're talking about the third industrial revolution, and the fourth industrial revolution, and the fifth industrial revolution, when really it's possible, I think, that we're somewhere far beyond industrial revolutions. We just haven't created a new story to talk about where we are, and more importantly, where we could go. As long as we keep thinking about industrial revolutions, how can we imagine a different kind of revolution? It's tough because we love our industrial revolution. We love industry. We love material things. We love to build. We've been extracting from this planet a whole lot, gathering up material resources and using the material resources and building. But at the same time, we've already moved beyond it. I'm not arguing that we're beyond the Industrial Revolution because I want us to be. I'm saying we are. We're so far beyond it. We are so far beyond the domain of the material. We are so far beyond the idea that innovation happens with wood and brick and steel. And so it's possible for us to shift, and I say we need to shift from the focus on extraction and building to a focus on visioning and creating into the vision and imagining the impossible on whole new landscapes that we can give whole new names and stories to move from economies of production and manufacture to economies of creating and dreaming, to name the thing that we are already doing, to know that what we are doing is imagining, visualizing, envisioning, looking out. We don't have to throw away industry, but what we have to do is say there's a new story that we can tell, a future-facing story that takes us beyond fortifying our human lives and expanding and envisioning the radical possibility of bigger and more amazing human lives. We could call it the human revolution. I just made that up because that's what people on stages do sometimes. Thought leadership. I don't know that it's the human revolution. It could be the imagination revolution. Could be the intelligence revolution. It's bigger than just the artificial intelligence revolution. I think it's probably something pretty extraordinary. What I am pretty confident about is that its economic engine is the imagination. That the thing that fuels this revolution is the power of not just our rational minds, but our imaginative minds, and our ability to build into the vision that that produces. It is, I think, the only economy that can not just keep pace with capitalism, but outrun it, by which I mean it's the way that we get to continue to build into abundance and not build our way into traps, but get beyond it, create new systems, create the next iteration of capitalism, create the next iteration of innovation, because we know that it's possible, because we know that there's a future where that can happen. The imagination economy isn't just about creative industries. I'm biased because I come from a creative industry. Spent a long time at the Walt Disney Company, learning the power of stories, practicing the power of stories. But this is also about new technologies of story and new stories about technology and new technologies and new ways of thinking about the world. It's a culture of curiosity and discovery. That beautiful video that we saw at the beginning showed a fantastical version of that. The spirit of human adventure and exploration that yields tremendous, tremendous innovation. It's an orientation to enlightenment, to abundance, to possibility. And it's a futurist economy. the industrial economy and all the economies that we nest underneath the nomenclature of industrial economy, like knowledge economy, creator economy, new economy, information economy. These are limited because they're very focused on how we work with what we have here and now, rather than what we can create, what we can build towards, what we can innovate into. Its horizon of development is not right here on the ground. It's the horizon of the future. Some of you may have seen a version of this before. Anyone who's followed any futurists will recognize the cone of possibility. It's a nice cone. The whole point of the cone is to find a way of visualizing how we imagine a future. And usually what we do is say, here's the cone, there's the now, way back there, I should be standing over there. Here's the future. And if you've ever had a futurist come work at your company, or you've read some books on it, you'll see usually we aim at the probable, right in the middle, the stuff that we are pretty sure is going to happen. That's low risk innovation. There's also the plausible, really highly likely to happen if we do the right things. That's a little bit higher risk, but more innovation. And then there's the possible, which is within the realm of possibility as we understand it. If you ever have a futurist consult with your company, they'll usually encourage you to play within this space and maybe push you out to the possible. What's more interesting to me in a futurist economy, an imagination economy, is to think about the impossible possible future, the paradoxical future, the preposterous future, to move beyond the three things that we can put reasonable measurements against, and actually get out to the preposterous, the crazy, the wacky, the wild, the thing that our ancestors would not have thought was remotely possible outside of wizards coming and helping us out. And even beyond that, into the paradoxical, into the zone where our very knowledge systems are being challenged, where everything we thought we knew about what it meant to be human in the world gets challenged, and we embrace it, because that's the space of innovation. Cone notwithstanding, I believe that this impossible possible future is already here. Many of you are already working in this impossible possible future. We have so many examples of this impossible possible future, and they go back as far as Walt Disney and beyond. Disney imagined whole immersive story worlds that people could walk through and even live in. Epcot Center was supposed to be the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. It was not meant to be a theme park. It was meant to be a city to live in. It became a theme park in which you can find actual flying dragons. This is a blurry picture. It's a kind of Sasquatch-like picture, because the Imagineers at Disney, this was during my time here, created this dragon solely for the opening of New Fantasyland at Disney World. This is a wonderful example of what I think of as chasing the impossible for the sake of chasing it. This dragon has never been seen again outside of the Imagineering offices. It now lives in the Imagineering offices in Glendale, California. It was built by the Imagineers just to see if they could. They wanted to know if they could make a dragon that didn't have any ropes or wires or pulleys, that could move its limbs and breathe fire, and really feel like a real dragon. It emerged once in 2012, and now lives as a monument to Imagineering curiosity in the Imagineering offices, although its science has been used to develop other things. There's an extraordinary company in the US called Colossal Biosciences that's working in the sphere of de-extinction. Now, if that sounds very Jurassic Park, it is. They are working to bring back the woolly mammoth. This is from their website. In the category of putting chickens on the moon, nobody asked for the woolly mammoth to be brought back, but they wanted to see if they could. They've already brought the dire wolf back, and they tell a good story about it, because what they say is, this is far from fiction. This is not made-up story. This is science. This is what happens when you push yourself onto the landscape of the impossible. When you look at the thing that somebody says, no, we can't do that. And why would we do that? They pushed beyond that and developed these extraordinary technologies to take us into deep human history and reshape a much bigger future. We're all here to talk about AI, and it's probably the biggest example, one of the most extraordinary examples of living in the impossible possible future. What would our grandparents have said? We actually need to go a little bit further back than that, because we were playing with this stuff long before any of us were born. We've been imagining what it would be like if machines could think and dream and tell stories for a very long time. That picture's from 1931. This is a screenwriter in LA. He wanted a companion to help him tell stories, so he built a machine. The earliest endeavors into machine learning drew upon the ancient technology of story. The earliest story generator in the 60s, artificial story generator, AI story generator, was a fairy tale generator. It was a fairy tale generator because it learned on fairy tales. The early researchers used folklore, children's stories, fairy tale to help AI learn about human perception of story. Some decades after that, in the 90s, some scholars at MIT started calling it narrative intelligence. That the best way to build an artificial brain, to create an artificial intelligence, is to feed it stories, to teach it narrative intelligence, to help it develop narrative intelligence. Why? Because it's the most human technology that we have. As human beings, all we do all day, every day, is create stories, even when we're not thinking about it. When we're parsing the filaments of our imagination, we're creating story. Narrative intelligence is an imaginative intelligence. And what the earliest researchers into AI knew was that if you were going to get a machine to think like a human, you had to get it to understand the possibility beyond the possibility, to understand magic. You had to give it pattern recognition, or the capacity for pattern recognition, the way that human beings have pattern recognition, the way that we make sense of the world through story. But they also had to do another thing, the crucially important thing that I'm trying to underscore here tonight. They needed to expose it to the possibility of the impossible. They needed to expose it to story, not just so that it could look at the world through the frame of story and parse information through the frame of story the way we do, but so that it could make things up. So that it could generate story itself, make things up. There's a way here of thinking about generative AI's capacity to hallucinate as a feature rather than a bug. When an AI makes things up, in some respects, that's the most human thing it's doing. It's the most impossible thing that it's doing. It's the thing that is most connotative of imaginative intelligence. We keep building machineries of the future, and we need to keep doing that. And as I've been arguing here tonight, we do that, we'll continue to do that, because we have that spark in us that tells us that the impossible is possible. But even as we're building these machineries, we are also weaving the fairy tales of the future. We are not just doing the math on a futurist economy. We are not just running the numbers on what comes after the Industrial Revolution. We are weaving stories. We are weaving fairy tales. We are weaving fairy tales of the future. We're weaving fairy tales that draw upon our past, but that take us to places we can't imagine. If our ancestors could see us now, in this ancient city, this extraordinarily modern city, the story that is at the intersection of ancient and futurist civilizations, they would be agog. They would be amazed. It would be magic. It would be the impossible. But it's possible. The thing is, we have to believe that it's possible. We have to go beyond just stumbling into our extraordinariness, just stumbling through our magic, and remind ourselves, all of us super sensible grown-ups here, that we have the capacity for magic and that we need to believe in magic, because believing in magic is what makes the impossible possible. It requires that we believe in fairies. It requires that we believe in putting chickens on the moon. It requires that we make and tell stories in the same way that the earliest forms of AI made and told stories and are still making and telling stories, having learned at our heels and having the capacity to learn so much more. We need to invite ourselves into that space. Call it hallucination or call it imagination. Call it the impossible or call it the impossible. We need to invite that into everything that we do, not just in our postures of innovation when we're working together and collaborating and forging partnerships, but in everything that we do, so that we can be expanding our imaginations and working and developing our muscles of the imagination every single day. It requires us to imagine a story in which we can say, once upon a future. So many impossible things are possible. It requires each and every one of you to be willing to lean into that story and to tell each other that story, and to encourage your children to believe that story, and to encourage everyone to believe that story, because when we believe in once upon a future, everything becomes possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine, for making us probably think about ourselves and our ideas and what we can do in the future with our ideas. With that, we are closing up this day. Tomorrow gonna be more exciting but longer day. We'll have panel discussions and more guests, more topics to cover. So I invite you all to join and be active tomorrow. Now we would like to invite you to a gala dinner in the next room, just behind that wall. So enjoy the dinner and thank you for being with us.